All right. Here we go, back again on the other side of the coin. All right, we are back again on the other side of the coin. Look at the superstars I have on the show today. It's like the Avengers. One hand you have Iron Man, Captain America. Like it's the lot here. We've got Captain America here, which is Alex Goldberg, and I'd like to say Younes is the Iron Man of Chelsea football community. So first of all, Alex, my man, how you doing?
I'm well, MIZ. Yeah, we were just saying before we started recording, it's a bit early, although it's not really early. It's 8 a.m., but I just feel like after last night, it might as well be 3 a.m. because I got no sleep. But this is what this beautiful club does to us, right? We just are always running on fumes. So at least it's in a positive way. I'm doing well, and I'm even better to be joining you two legends.
Brilliant. I completely hear you, my man. I'm like that as well. I don't even know when I get sleep, when I'm awake, when I'm, just like maybe unconscious. I don't even know these days. As I said, we roll in Younes's time, the UK time. That's when it's all happening. Younes, my man, how's it going?
I'm good, man. Yeah, we run this time. We run the time. I mean, look, the thing is, supporting Chelsea comes with a health warning in itself. When, Heart Attack FC, and you add the schedules that you guys have to follow, and that just puts your health at even more risk. So it's like, following this club is a sacrifice when you think about it.
Absolutely it is.
But I'm well. I'm glad to be on the stream with both of you guys, especially. Definitely looking forward to it, man.
Brilliant, bro. You know what? I do want to say one thing, Younes. I love seeing your background, man. I know you have all that fancy background these days with your green screen and whatnot, but I've got to say, I love the bed and I love the cupboard. Nothing beats that. I don't know why you changed it, Younes. Honestly, this is how it should be. Akshay here is saying, what a lineup, scarier front three than prime MSN. Thank you so much. Thank you to the live chat heaps for joining. I know a lot of people will join throughout the stream or will watch after. Thank you heaps always for the support. Let's get the show rock and rolling. I'll go to you, Younes. I'll let Alex warm up a little bit. It seems like he's just woken up, so let him sort of feel into it. I'll go to you, Younes, first up. Look, Younes, it's been a mad week, right? The last 7 days. Okay, so we're going to analyze this last 7 days. That's what the show is all about. I don't want to dwell too much about the results itself in regards to Arsenal and the FA Cup, because we've all done our reviews and post-match podcasts and whatnot. But I do want to talk about one thing, though. I want to talk about how I think in those couple of games, and I want to hear what you have to say, Younes. I feel personally the rotations that had taken place over those two games, and even Thomas Tuchel has come out and said that he wasn't really happy with the lineup against Arsenal. I even think the rotation in the FA Cup final was, I didn't say much before the game. I was like, I trust Thomas Tuchel, but you have to make comments after when we lost. There was back-to-back losses, obviously lost in the FA Cup. And I just thought that was just too much tinkering. Alonso played in the final. Reece James then moves into right centre-back, who still played great, but it was the first time we saw him move back into that. And a few changes up front as well, with Ziyech coming back into the team. Do you feel maybe that was probably a big reason why we just didn't look at our best for those two games, for the tinkering that we did? And then obviously now when we've moved back to our normal team, the A team that has always played, the differences in the performance are so vast. Like, do you feel that was probably one of the biggest reasons over the last couple of poor losses?
I think it has a part to play, for sure. I'm with you. Like before those lineups were announced, I understood. Especially in terms of the schedule that we have. It's difficult to just stick with the same 11. I mean, like now we're at a time where we stick with the same 11. There's just no choice. We have like this game against Leicester. Now we've got Villa, Champions League final. Like, cool. We just stick with the same team. There's no point changing. But when there's more fixtures and a pile up, I get it. The problem that I feel is there's elements of, there's lack of consistency in some lads. Like, for example, Alonso having a great game, whereas Chilwell didn't. against City, you remember?
Yeah.
Alonso come on, he scores the winner as a blinding game. Then he gets picked, and all of a sudden he dips. Chilwell comes on, has a great end to the game. Do you know what I mean? So there's elements. Ziyech comes on, boom, scores, actually looks good, plays another game, doesn't look good. It seems like in terms of looking micro detail that there's elements of lack of consistency, and I think that's just it makes it a little bit harder for Tuchel to get it absolutely spot on. So yeah, there's that. Personally, I'd love it if we could have a set team, and then or at least a spine. You know, like we used to have a spine, and then you rotate in terms of schedule and in terms of where you need to change or to preserve any injuries from happening, things like that. But yeah, I feel like it had a part to play. I understood the logic, like Kepa starting, for example. I understood the logic. After it's said and done, though, people can criticize and people look and go, oh, that shouldn't have happened. But in hindsight, it's difficult. So, yeah, it happens. My concern in terms of the Arsenal game was just how poor we looked overall. Yeah. It was just like, why? We can't just switch off. The FA Cup final took us until minute 85 to actually look like we showed up to an extent. And that was where my concern was. Now, whether the lineup had a part to play in it, I still feel like the team was strong enough, regardless. But again, that lack of consistency in some players, and maybe just that, again, I had an issue with the mentality. But yesterday, for example, proved that, yeah, we do have it in us. And that's reassuring going forward.
Yeah. I do want to ask you one question before I go to Alex. I had Tony Mount, right? And he was saying that momentum is a big thing in football. And he didn't like the fact that there were that many changes in the Arsenal game moving into the FA Cup, because I had him just before the FA Cup. And he was saying, had you asked Mason if he wants to miss out on the Arsenal game, he'd say, no way. Had you asked Timo Werner, do you want to miss out on the Arsenal game? He'd be like, no way, I'm playing that game. Do you know what I mean? Do you feel it's necessary to have, I feel it's okay to have maybe one, maximum two rotation if need be due to fatigue and injuries, as you said, for prevention. But you feel from the Arsenal game, there was literally 5 games in the season. Do you feel it was necessary to do that many changes?
Again, beforehand, I understood. I understood it. If it was down to me, no. Like, if I had my way, no. But again, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes in terms of Tuchel, the medical staff, how the players are feeling. As you said, players will happily say, I'll play. Regardless, even if they feel pain. They'll be like, yeah, I'm fine. You know? So you can't take the player's word 100% of the time because they just want to play. So again, I understood it at the time. If I had my way and if I know that the players are fit, then yeah, I will try to keep the same lineup as much as possible. But again, we're not there. We're not behind the scenes. We don't really know the detail. All we can really understand is the schedule was tough. The schedule was hectic. And for that, I understood it. But going forward, yeah, I think with a little bit more of adaptation, a little bit more of consistency will definitely help us to keep the same lineup going forward.
No, fair enough. I want to ask the same question to Alex as well, just quickly on this before I ask him the second big one. Alex, when you see that many rotations for Arsenal and then again several more rotations for the FA Cup final, how does it make you feel knowing that there's only a few more games to happen? And I know you're like, just like all of us, you're hella passionate about Chelsea and you want to see the number one, strongest team. But when you see that many tinkering, what sort of, do you get palpitations inside that? Ooh, like I just hope it works out.
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, the first thing I would say is the front three is a really hard thing to analyze because that's the area of the pitch that's had no consistency. I mean, even under Frank, like besides Mount, especially under Tuchel, like Mount under Tuchel has now become that one guy in the front three you don't really guess for each game because you know he's going to be in there. But I mean, think about it. The dynamic of how the front three has been built all season, ever since Chelsea made all these acquisitions in the summer, is tailor-made for there to be rotation, indecision, confusion, right? Because I think one of you already mentioned, Ziyech, he goes from having a good goal, an important goal, to kind of ghosting, which he can kind of do. And there hasn't really been one guy to have consistent play, momentum, like you just said, Miz, that Tony was speaking about, cohesion, continuity. I mean, Werner has been the guy who's gotten the minutes out of all the other guys besides Mount, but even himself has been hit or miss at times. So that front three, I mean, it's nothing like other top teams, right? Where they kind of know their front three going into a game. I mean, Liverpool finally have had a season where they've thrown in another player like Jota, but normally it's pretty set in stone. Like Tottenham, you know, if Kane and Son are fit, like maybe that third guy, and lately it's been Bale, could be thrown in, but there's a bit more of an established identity. And if it's a game that ever matters, it's kind of a set front three. So Chelsea haven't had that all season, and even under Tuchel, it's Mount, and then who are the other two? So that's always going to be rotated. But I'm on record in the other departments these last few days, this last week, I'm on record saying I haven't liked some of the rotation. I just, don't get me started, but I just still don't understand the whole Kepa thing. I don't understand why he needed to start against Arsenal. I certainly don't understand why he needed to start the FA Cup game. Now, once again, I think it's really important that people don't think I'm blaming Kepa. No, he actually did nothing wrong in either of those scenarios. But at the same time, I mean, don't we feel the presence of an Edouard Mendy when he's out there? Like, isn't Mendy more than just shot stopping? Isn't he actually, I know, a sneaky leader? And by the way,
I was fully confident, Alex.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was fully confident as soon as I saw him in the lineup yesterday. I was like, you know what? Good luck, Leicester. Like, do you know what I mean?
Right, yeah. And by the way, his distribution last night against Leicester, phenomenal. So it's just like, yeah, Kepa didn't do anything wrong, but still, what could have Mendy done that Kepa just factually couldn't do, right? So why change that up? That's goalkeeper. That's not about fitness. It really isn't. Come on, guys. It's not about fitness. I mean, goalkeepers can play 90 after 90 after 90. Now, on something like Alonso and Chilwell, I know Tuchel got a lot of stick for starting Alonso in the FA Cup final, and now we hear he's even admitted the priorities of the club, which, you know, I guess that's a different discussion, but I think we all would have liked them to maybe prioritize both just as much. But anyway, I know he had a bit of a pickle. If he wanted to play Chilwell on Saturday in the FA Cup final, well, he probably already wanted to play him in this previous game on Tuesday, yesterday as well, a huge game. So could he have played him a full 90 against Arsenal, a full 90 on Saturday, and a full 90 on Tuesday? Maybe not. Maybe that is a lot for a wing back, very demanding position. But could he have then just started Alonso again for Arsenal and then done Chilwell on Saturday and Tuesday? I don't know. But then again, the performance against Arsenal was so heartless almost that would Alonso have been the right choice there? Would have been even worse? I'm not sure. But I will say, let me just say this. Like you said, Miz, the light has been at the end of the tunnel no matter what. I mean, these games have been getting smaller and smaller in the amount we have. So we know some players like a Mount, he's going to be in there for the rest of the way. He's going to be in there for the rest of the way. But even a Thiago Silva, and some of it has had to do with Christensen getting injured, of course, but even a Thiago Silva, it seems like he's just going to be in there for the rest of the way. And he was someone who was managed for a good part of the season, right? So, by the way, I'm kind of thinking that was the plan all along, to manage him for the majority of the season. And then when the games got really important, to ramp it up a bit more, to test him just a bit more, you know? And that makes sense. That happens a lot. I mean, I follow basketball, and I have this player who I love who is rested every other night with back-to-back nights, and now the playoffs are here, and now he's going full board. So that happens. So I would have liked to see Tuchel do that a bit more with just the whole squad in general. Now, to Tuchel's credit, last thing, injuries could have played a part. Like Kovacic being injured, all of a sudden got Gilmore from the bench to starting 3 Premier League games in a row, right? And then, of course, Christensen's injury, not the most timely. So how did that shake things up? I'm not sure. But at the end of the day, Miz, I do think that Tuchel would have been better off sticking a bit more with just one team. And if he, like you said, wants to make 1-2 changes here and there for some rotation, maybe it's Conte who obviously is dealing with something, fine, fair play. But I would have liked to keep a bit more of an identity. Last thought, I'm wondering that, because that Arsenal game was so disappointing. It still angers me, that Arsenal game. Just the performance and the vibe we got from it was so angry. But I'm wondering,
that was bad.
Was it a curse in disguise that Chelsea won against City? I wonder if they had drawn. I don't want a loss against City, but I wonder if they drew. would they have come into that Arsenal game with a bit more ferocity? Like, would they have taken it a bit more seriously if it wasn't a full 3 points against City? I don't know. Tuchel has admitted, if you've heard him in post games recently, we are human. We are human, he has said. So I do wonder, was that City win almost a curse in disguise?
I have to agree, Alex, because Tuchel post-match that Arsenal game said, I felt it in the training. I felt that these lads just, whether it's complacent, it has to be complacency, because they just thought that we've just beaten City. We're just going to show up against Arsenal. We're just going to beat them. Do you know what I mean? Like, they were just in such a high. Maybe in hindsight, had we just maybe got a draw there and a win against Arsenal, that's 4 points as opposed to 3. So I don't know. It's a very crazy way to look at it, but it is what it is. And hopefully this is something that we do rectify next season, because, I mean, Younes, you'd agree. Next season, none of this. I said it. Why do we need to kick up the backside? Why do we need a wake-up call? Like, isn't the situation itself big enough for you to realize that had you won against Arsenal, had you won the FA Cup, like, it would have meant so much to the season? Like, why do you need someone to go behind you and knock on the door and go, wake up? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, is that how you felt as well, Younes?
Yeah, fully. I mean, to be honest, as you said, we don't need motivation. And I outlined this when I was questioning some of the mentality in the last couple of games. The motivation is there. You don't need to be motivated for the situation we're in, you know, and being complacent, especially against Arsenal, for example, is a mistake. Like, yes, we felt confident. I felt confident. I mean, Arsenal are a mess, or they were a mess anyway. So, you know,
they didn't score against Villarreal, Younes. They didn't
exactly. And I watched that semi-final, and it wasn't just a case of Arsenal playing bad. It was Villarreal playing bad as well, and Arsenal still couldn't get a job done. So I just saw that and thought, nah, come on, surely. Especially after the 3-1 loss earlier on in the season. Like, that's a bit of motivation in itself, because we took them lightly then. And you can't make the same mistake twice, and it seemed like we did. So that's a problem. But the issue that I have, and it relates to that Arsenal game as well, is, again, we go back to some inconsistency. We're just still not clinical. We're not clinical. I mean, yesterday, for example, we beat Leicester. We didn't score from open play. I mean, you know, we got a set piece. Rudiger smashes it in with his hip. Lovely jubbly. We get a penalty. Jorginho, great. And our win's a win. I'm happy because I just wanted to win. But there is still that element of we're not putting chances to bed. That Arsenal game, for example, if Havertz had put that one-on-one in, game's in our favour.
Different game.
Completely different game. You look at some of the sitters that we've seen Timo Werner not score. You've seen some of the other players that have had chances and it's just gone sky high into Rosette. We're still, that's the one issue. If we sort that problem out, I think confidence begins to generate itself. So I think that's a key thing that we need to fix. And that could be an issue that starts to affect us in games as well.
Yeah, no, 100% agreed, man. We fix everything else is pretty much in, you know, the right position, defense, goalkeeper, midfield, more or less. I think we have injury issues. I still think striker is the first priority, but then we need something in midfield. We need a midfielder that can score goals, that can assist goals, that can defend well as well. You know, we need something there because I don't want to get into this mess again. Alex, I do want to ask you, obviously, look, the FA Cup is gone. We've lost, but then we've beaten Leicester. Redemption, you know, took place. We've beaten them. I do want to ask you one thing. I want to get Younes' thoughts as well down the track. Thomas Tuchel, and this is my perspective, right, from the press conference. He was asked, you know, what's more important, the FA Cup or top 4? And he wholeheartedly, with his chest out, said, no, top 4 is far more important. That was the objective. As soon as I came in, that's exactly what the bosses asked me to do, is to ensure top 4. Champions League football is something that Chelsea Football Club needs to participate in every season, right? But I felt he just wanted to deflect the focus away from the FA Cup loss from his team and he wanted to vocalize the fact that this game is so important, wanted his team to really understand that. I think deep down he was hurting that he didn't win the FA Cup. I know he wanted to win the FA Cup. He's been saying every competition we get in, We are there to win it. And he was so looking forward to winning the FA Cup. But Alex, what I want to ask you is that a lot of the Chelsea football, the community took that particular comment from Tuchel in a very negative manner, and they didn't like him saying that. And a lot of people were saying, "That's strike one for you, Mr. Tuchel. Don't talk like that." How do you kind of look at that particular comment from Tuchel?
I literally was just talking about this on my post-pod last night that I haven't released yet, and I was saying that, yeah, I mean, you could argue that was the first misstep from Tuchel in the media. However, I'm kind of with you, Miz. I feel like if you truly got inside Tuchel's head or heart, you would know that he really wanted to win that trophy, because up until that FA Cup final, didn't we hear him every press conference say, "We're not here to make finals, we're here to win titles." We heard him say that over and over and over. And sometimes managers, especially in the media, can give you lip service, but I believe Tuchel every time he said that. I mean, every time he said that, it felt really genuine. So when the other day he kind of clarifies the priorities of the club, I felt like that was a little club forced. I'm not saying they said to him, "Hey, you have to go say this in the press conference," but I do think he knows, obviously, what the club's priorities are. So maybe it was a little balanced out to, let's also highlight the importance of this upcoming game, right? Let's also just highlight how important this game is on Tuesday. But let's also kind of hint that, yes, at the end of the day, the club really needs me and my team to be in Champions League football above all. So I feel like you may have gotten a bit of a different answer from Tuchel if you were just at a pub with him, maybe privately talking about football. I think he would have admitted how much that loss actually gutted him. So, maybe it's his first misstep, but I think it's still more club influence than it was Tuchel changing his tune, because I believed him every time he said, "We don't celebrate making finals, we celebrate winning them." So I think that's a bit more of what Tuchel's like, not what he said the other day.
No, 100% as well. I kind of feel the same way too. I do want to hear Younes. I want to change this up a little bit, right? I want you to think from a very objective manner. I know we have a squad that should be competing in both fronts. But if someone was to say to you from the beginning of the season, Younes, if making top four obviously ensures you Champions League qualification, but you had to give away FA Cup, and I can guarantee you that you're going to get the top four, do you take that? Or you go, nah, I'm fighting for the FA Cup. Like, what's more valuable for you if you were having that conversation at the beginning of the season?
You see, there's two things about this. In terms of us as fans, just following our team, put financial incentive to the side. We'd all say FA Cup. Yeah, we'd all be like, I want trophies.
100%.
Yeah, I want my cup. I want my team to lift a cup. I want my team to win silverware. We now know, though, that the financial incentive of getting top four is huge. And top four in itself has now become like a mini trophy. And we used to mock Arsenal for that years ago. We used to go, you guys celebrate getting top four every year. Like, you're not a big club. And now, we're all sucked in. Not just Chelsea. We're all sucked in because there's just so much financial incentive at it. So you can't just ignore that. You can't ignore that. We know now that winning an FA Cup, it's great. Don't get it wrong. As far as I'm concerned, it still carries prestige. I think a lot of people begin to undermine the FA Cup. I think the FA Cup should be respected. It's the oldest cup competition in world football. It's got such a heritage, such a history. I feel like it's losing its buzz a little bit, and it shouldn't. So there's that. But at the same time, the way that football's going in, the way that English football's going in as well, top four has just become a thing where if you get Champions League football, yes, you get sponsorships, you get TV deals, you get money coming in.
Attract players as well, Younes.
It attracts players. Yes. It can take your club to the next step in terms of really trying to build what you want to build and to try and hit the pinnacle. So I understand it. In terms of the Thomas Tuchel thing, though, as well, I appreciate his honesty. I think he's honest, and I like the transparency. If I'm being real, he mentions that winning trophies, winning titles is important, and we don't want to just show up and participate. We want to win. That statement he made, though, about top 4, we know that's on his job spec. He got brought in to take the club to top 4. It's as simple as that. And yeah, I agree with Alex saying that, I don't think the board told him, hey, listen, you've got to say this and this. But he knows, and everyone knows, that the club will prioritize top 4 over an FA Cup win, because that is what is going to help the club go in the direction that they want to go in, not an FA Cup win. So yeah, as a fan, just solely as a fan, removing money, you'd say an FA Cup trophy because it's a trophy.
100%.
But in the long run, no, you'd want top 4.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. The kind of caliber of players that we want to be linked with in the likes of Haaland, Lukaku, and Kane, if we didn't get top 4, well, Kane's not coming to us to play Europa League again. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's already played that. So if that ever eventuates, Haaland as well, he's not leaving Dortmund, who's already qualified for Champions League, to come to Chelsea and play Europa League. So this guy's got a lot of options. Michael Green, thank you so much for the super chat. Defensive midfield is key area we have to fix. As I said, I think we definitely need something different there with the injuries that we've had this season. I don't want to be in that same position next season. Alex, I want to round off this particular segment and then talk about a few players. I do want to ask you, are you one bit shocked or surprised that as soon as we changed into a team, which was more sort of reminiscent of Real Madrid first leg sort of team, with the same trio up front, similar. It is a similar midfield, similar-ish sort of back in the back side as well, and obviously Mendy being back. Are you surprised that the way we dominated Leicester in this particular match from the get-go? Yeah, you're right. Younes is right. We weren't clinical. That's our big issue that has been throughout the season, and in fact under Thomas Tuchel, that's how it's been, and I hope he fixes that next season. But looking at that lineup, were you at all surprised that the way we played, or were you like, nah, that I know that's how our team plays?
No, I wasn't too surprised. I mean, you got to remember the fan element as well. I mean, the ridiculous electricity of the team right when the ball was kicked off was extra special. So I'm not sure any of us totally could have predicted that, because you had two outside factors. You had the fans, who were absolutely incredible. I mean, they made it feel like it was full capacity from where I was sitting in my living room. It was really impressive from them. And then you also have the Amarte thing. You did. I'm not sure how big of a role it played, but you just lost to this team a few days ago.
I think it did play a big role, Alex. I think it played a big role.
Trust me, I've done some snooping. I think it did as well. So they knew big time. They know. So there were really two outside driving forces. But you'd actually like to believe that if there was no Amarte incident and there were actually still no fans, that they still would have been really energized, because they just want to win the game. They want to show their pride, right? So those outside factors, I think, helped. But getting the actual team, I'm not surprised. That team looked really good, well drilled, and ready to go. I mean, listen, if you analyze each one of those players in the 11 last night, you isolate them. I really like all of them, at least in some department. I might not be in love with every player completely, but mentality-wise, especially, hey, once again, this is not at all dissing a Kepa. It isn't. But when you put Mendy in, I think you just gain something, right? When you take Alonso out for Chilwell, I think, we all know Alonso's good for a clutch goal, but I think with Chilwell, you get someone who's a bit more locked in, just kind of gets it a bit more. So you're just upgrading there. Werner, Mount, relentless. Conte, even though he didn't last, relentless. Jorginho, we know his character. Silva, Aspi, Reese, Rudiger. I mean, listen to the players I'm listing. These are players that we really do back a lot with mentality and quality. A lot of the players that I just mentioned have played a lot recently together. And we have to remember also, we had some disappointing results in the last week against Arsenal and Leicester City in the FA Cup final. We lost both of those games only by 1 goal. So it's not like we're getting spanked here. We can be really upset with our vibe and our just purpose against Arsenal. But at the same time, we still dominated Arsenal. They were awful. Arsenal were awful, and we still only lost by 1 goal. And, I disagree with Tuchel a little bit about our performance on Saturday, but it was better than it was against Arsenal. And once again, we were kind of in control for at least parts of it. So that wasn't even with that same group from last night. So the floor for this team is pretty good. And when you add then in just a couple extra players out for maybe players you're not as gung-ho on, you kind of trust the team. You do trust the team to show up. And listen, more often than not, if we can just take a step back, Miz, right, and we don't think so much about the Arsenal game and so much about the FA Cup final on Saturday, the identity under Tuchel, one of the top adjectives you could use is intensity. Like that has been a huge identity of this team. Intense, annoying to play against. And they set the tone right from the start. So I'm not really surprised they set the tone like that. There's been many games under Tuchel where Chelsea right out of the gates, even against City, have just been, hey, we're going to control this game. We're going to be really annoying. Every time you touch the ball, we are going to be on you, hounding you for the ball back. And excuse me if I'm stepping on your toes of a future subject we'll talk about, but I even think something like Aspi at right wing back, I don't think any of us are going to write that in long term, right? Like that's not what we're going to do long term. But I even think Aspi being a bit further up the pitch, we know how manic he is getting in the opponent's face. We know how much he'll press up high. We know Mount does it already, but now you have Aspi a bit further up the pitch. Like it sets the tone. So that whole energy and vibe that the Chelsea players came out with last night, I was really encouraged by. I was really proud of, but I wasn't surprised. No, I wasn't.
No, I have to agree with you as well. I wasn't one bit surprised. As soon as I saw the lineup, I think it was 4:15 a.m., I just woke up, I saw the lineup, and honestly, I said, good luck, Leicester. Seriously, good luck. You know, you might have had a bit of a run against us in the FA Cup, but good luck facing this team because they're going to run wild, and that's exactly what happened. Really nice comment here from Brent Smith. Thank you so much. Always commenting positive stuff as well. Lions are intense animals. We've got to be the pride of London. Thank you so much for that. Younes, let's talk about some players now, right? It's going to get tasty now. There's been a lot of good players under Thomas Tuchel in terms of performance and whatnot, but one player, honestly, I'm starting to really, really like this player a lot, and I'm going to get his jersey. It's Antonio Rudiger. He's just developed into a beast. I feel like everything that we can ever imagine, you know, when you look back the history and the aggression, JK's aggression or Didier Drogba or Frank Lampard or Ashley Cole, I start now picturing Rudiger. He's now cementing a picture in that frame where we will look back in a few years' time that season under Thomas Tuchel, Rudiger was borderline world class. Because for me, besides that one mistake earlier on with that own goal, honestly, he's been immense, whether it's Atletico Madrid, whether it's Real Madrid with the mask on, broken jaw. Do you know what I mean? Like he's squaring up on players. Ricardo Pereira, I mean, what was he thinking going up against this monster? He would have got his ass whooped by this guy. Do you know what I mean? Like seriously ass whooped. But I need to also ask you that it's so good. You know how I felt when obviously, and I'm not going to get into the full details of this, but when Frank was sacked, there was a lot of, you know, stuff that was being said to Antonio Rudiger. And you know how I felt about that. And I know we talked as well. And I knew you felt very deeply about that. The kind of backlash he got from the fans, the abuse, criticism and all that, that's fine. The abuse that he got was so crazy. From that posh position to where he has gone now, Younes. Yeah. I mean, talk to me about that monumental, like, development. It's crazy. We've got people like Matisse who was just tweeting, just, you know, literally post-match saying, this guy has won my heart now. Do you know what I mean? Like Matisse was not really onto him that much, but even he's turning. And there's a lot of people, even Alex had such great words to say about Antonio Rudiger post-match. So talk to me, Younes, man, how you feel about Antonio Rudiger?
It's not just in terms of like his development. It's like the rise of the Phoenix. I mean, it's unbelievable, the transformation we've seen. It's, you know, yesterday proved one thing, because the last couple of videos that I done before yesterday, the Arsenal Leicester Cup final, you know, I had a lot of comments in regards to mentality, and I wanted players to really come out yesterday and prove that they have it in them. And I mentioned one thing about risk taking, and that sometimes you got to take a gamble. You know, in order for you to reach the top, you got to go for it. You just have to come out your comfort zone and do something that seems uncomfortable, but might actually reap in the rewards. When I saw Rudiger take the ball yesterday and go on that run going past everyone.
But prime Maradona, he did the 360.
And prime Pedro. There was a lot of Pedro in that run as well.
What's he doing?
When I saw that, and then it looked like he lost the ball, but then he won it back, and then he went and took the ball into midfield, and he passed, and I was just like, that's it. Yeah, he might not have achieved exactly what he wanted to in the end, but that's the mentality I'm looking for. That's what I want to see. A player that's just going to go, yeah, let's just go for it. And the entire game is just pretty much cemented exactly what we've seen from him this season under Thomas Tuchel. He's just ruthless. He gets stuck in. He's strong. He wins. He goes in for every challenge. He's got balls. He's just everything. I mean, and even when he stepped up to Ricardo yesterday, and then the whole thing happened when Amate got involved. That is what you want to see. Rudiger, as you said, you know, we mentioned JT, Didier, and all of those, you know, proper diehard legends that will just not let you get through. Yeah, Rudiger's definitely starting to enter that sort of stature. So I'm honestly really, really happy with him. I said it yesterday. I think right now, as it stands, he's one of the best centre-backs in world football, hands down.
Bro, Ruben Diaz is because obviously, you know, he's done a madness with Man City. Yeah. But I'd say Rudiger is there, like there or thereabouts, or maybe just pipping him at the moment. I can't really think of any other top-class centre-backs at the moment that you can say is above Rudiger's level at the moment. Alex, I saw your tweet as well. You were ecstatic about Rudiger. You were over the moon, and I've been drumming this beat for a little while now that Rudiger has been immense. One thing I do want to ask you is his whole contract situation, Alex, is a bit dicey at the moment. Is he one player that you do want, like you can see that the kind of impact Thomas Tuchel is having on this particular individual and the kind of, you know, the football that they're playing and the style of football and the three at the back. It may not be three at the back, but I think Thomas Tuchel is having a big impact on this guy's career. Is he one guy that you now think that, you know what, I don't want to let him go? I perhaps would like to see him sign a contract extension, or do you feel, look, whatever happens, if he wants to go, he goes, and we find ourselves a new centre back?
Well, yeah, I'm not at the point where, like, if Rudiger wanted to go, then I would say, no, don't go, stay. Like, if it was his will to go, then of course I would, you can go, but thank you for what you've done. But I certainly have also, like many, changed my tune on Rudiger. And really, there's nothing to be embarrassed about if people have changed their tune on Rudiger, because let's just call a spade a spade. He wasn't playing like this under Frank Lampard, ladies and gentlemen. So it's not like you got your take wrong on Rudiger if you said something different under Frank or just previously than now under Tuchel. He has been just about flawless under Thomas Tuchel. Yeah. I mean, one own goal, right, to start Tuchel's tenure, and still those are freak things. And other than that, I mean, just immense. And it's more than just the performances. It's the intangibles, and he's got some unique intangibles that he brings. But I will answer your question by saying, if Tuchel is the manager, then I do want Rudiger to stay around. Like, that's how convincing he's been. Someone joked with me privately, but I actually kind of take it seriously. I don't know, maybe Rudiger having a German coach has done something for him, because he just looks so into it. And by the way, there are plenty of players in any sport that were way different under one manager versus another. Like, totally. There are managers or players that are so much better depending on who they're with. So Rudiger might be one of those guys. And this is what I'll say about Rudiger. He's a player that at the end of the day, when you see a team that won a lot, like if we do win the Champions League, every team to win the Champions League needs someone like a Rudiger. Every team probably has someone like a Rudiger, right? They have someone who will bust it up. They will have someone who's almost like a bodyguard or an instigator. I mean, almost every championship winning team in any sport needs one of those guys. I will say, if you're not a contending team, do you need a Rudiger? Now, obviously, his performances are immense, so anybody needs that type of performance. And I agree. Right now, obviously, Ruben Diaz has done it for a whole season. But right now, the way Rudiger's playing, I mean, is any center back playing better than him? Probably not. So anyone needs these performances from their center backs. But just because Rudiger is a bit of a loose cannon, he has so much more purpose, in my opinion, especially at this age where he's not old, but he's not young. He has so much more purpose on a team that's trying to win things rather than maybe a team if they were rebuilding or kind of starting slow. Maybe they didn't even have the expectation to win things. Maybe Rudiger would be a bit of a distraction at times. But for this team, he's perfect. Like, think about the blend in that back three of now you have Reece at right center back. And then in the middle, you have Thiago Silva, who really is like the parent, right, of the whole group. And he will get a little feisty.
The calm one.
Right, exactly. Like if he sees a Marte, just like Mount, they'll clock it and they'll get a little feisty. But overall, Silva, like you said, the calm one. And Rudiger, a bit of the opposite. So I love that blend. Like I really love that blend. So if Tuchel is the manager of Chelsea, and as long as Rudiger is even performing somewhat close to this, because let's be real, there will be dips. Like eventually there's going to be dips. Hopefully for the last 2 games, there's no dips. But, you know, there will be dips eventually. But if Tuchel's the manager, I just love what Rudiger is about in this team. So 2 Rudigers would be a bit much for me. Like I wouldn't want 2 Rudigers. But 1 Rudiger, I'm all on board with whatever this Antonio Rudiger is for sure.
You know what? Reece James could turn out to be the second Rudiger. I can see that
he, he's
got something in him.
Because just to interrupt you, I was literally saying with Matisse last night on the podcast, Reece is a bit of a blend of both Silva and Rudiger. And here's why. He's a bit more quiet like Silva, right? Like he's not going to be really loud and boisterous, but a bit more than Silva. If you push Reece or you get a little into his skin, the eyes, and he will mess you up. So he's kind of a perfect blend as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've been thinking that Reece, if you poke him, that bear will absolutely eat you up.
It happened like after the fight, immediately after the fight. I think it was Thomas. I'm not sure, but someone challenged him for the ball, and everyone was still riled up, and he just
Luke
moved
Thomas,
and sent him into the advertisement board. Yeah. So yeah, you're right.
It's crazy. But nah, man, honestly, Thomas Tuchel said it. Was it last press conference or the press? Yeah, I think it was last press conference. He said it was a bit unfair with Zuma. He didn't see Zuma. He knows the connection with Rudiger. The German background as well helped him out. He could trust him a lot more. So you're right, Alex. You know, the German connection, let's not kid around. Let's not beat around the bush. It's there. It's true. And it is what it is. And hopefully it continues. As you said, there could be dips, but I hope that this now becomes a reference point that we all know that this is what Antonio Rudiger can be, and that we can, if he does have a dip down the track, which obviously he will, it's inevitable, that we can always say that, he's got that in his locker, he'll come back. Younes, let's talk about Timo Werner, right?
Oh my God.
I had, was it after I think it was post the FA Cup game, right? I was so lost for words in my review, and I threw up all my structure. I generally have a structure. As you can see, I always have this structure when I do my shows. And I said, you know what? F with the structure. You're out. Just open the floodgates. Fans come in, say whatever you want to say, and let's just talk about anything you want to talk about after that FA Cup loss. And this one guy came out, all guns blazing, and he was having a full go at Timo Werner. Full go. And I let him have his turn because everyone was frustrated on that day, right? I let him have his go. But after about a couple of minutes of listening to it, it just finally clocked that, I can't let this happen in my channel. Like, this is my channel. I'm the captain. And I stepped in and I said that, no, mate, you've got it wrong. Like, he was slandering Timo Werner left, right, and center, how he can't finish, this, that. And I had to jump in and say, you need to see beyond all of that. Yeah, he has to finish. Yeah, he needs to improve his first touch or whatever else that you want to pick on. But that he can work on. But you need to look at all the other facets of the game in terms of movement, the pace, how he absolutely, he scares the living daylights out of the opposition with his movement and his pace. The goal contribution, the assists are racking up. And now in recent times, he's been chipping in with the goals as well. He's got to score a lot more. But the work rate, Thomas Tuchel, there's a reason why he keeps picking him. So I feel like it's time the fan base, and I've seen Alex tweet as well, like it's such an interesting player. You don't know how to analyze him. There are parts where you want to be frustrated, but then there are parts where you go, well done, Timo, well done. I feel like the fan base now finally needs to accept the good things that he does, as opposed to the bad things, which I feel we need to be patient and hopefully that it comes around next season. Do you feel that way as well, that there is a lot of value in having Timo Werner in the team?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was nice yesterday with the support that he did get at the bridge. He got absolutely outstanding support. I think he was taken back by all of that, especially after the game. And that might have helped him a lot, to be honest. Even after the game, he was smiling and happy and celebrating, and he danced and all sorts. So that was nice to see. But in terms of Timo as a player, it's so difficult because, as you said, there are things that he really urgently needs to improve on. But what he brings overall just seems to be more than any other front man we have in the team.
Yeah,
it's crazy how it works. I think off the ball, he's perfect.
Yeah,
like he does everything perfectly. And in terms of if you're talking tactics, if you're talking dragging away defenders, if you're talking, creating attention, being able to run in behind, creating space, coming deep, moving fast, pace, strength, all of that, fantastic. He's he's flawless. The few frustrations that we have with him, obviously, is just he can't seem to hit a barn door. We want him to score so bad. And I honestly, this is why I said earlier on in the season, and I stick by it now, I'm still giving him until next season in terms for him to improve on that. And hopefully a preseason under Tuchel will do him justice. His finishing, his dribbling, his one-on-one dribbling with defenders, that's another thing. You could argue his first touch, even though we saw yesterday a couple of times his first touch was fantastic.
Yeah,
like that time when he dropped deep, and again another thing of him dropping deep, he managed to, I forgot who passed the ball, but he managed to do a little Cruyff turn and get in between two and just run with it and beat them completely.
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
Was that the one where he laid it off to Ben Chilwell in the first half? He laid it off. Yeah,
and Ben Chilwell hit it.
Should have got an assist.
Exactly. So that's the great thing about Timo Werner. Another thing that he just, and I heard him yesterday and he mentioned it, apparently he's had this problem since he was a kid, which is, I heard it and I thought, okay, maybe I'll have a bit of sympathy for you on this then, is the amount of offsides he has. I mean, I saw a comment yesterday in my watch along, someone saying maybe he's been born offside. And yesterday after the game, well, yesterday after the game, I heard him talk and he said that he's had this offside problem since he was a kid. And I'm like, well, will it ever be fixed then? I don't know, but it has to. Like, I just hope that he sorts that out. If he can sort that out, if he can read the line a bit better, if he can finish a bit better, perfect. Literally the perfect forward man anyone would want in their team. But yeah, in terms of the value that he brings, he brings a lot, especially when you look to some of the other lads we have. The overall package, Werner brings so much to the table, and he definitely needs to be valued for that. But I just hope he has a good summer and a good preseason and a good outing at the Euros with Germany. Just as long as they don't beat England, that'll be great. But apart from that, I hope he has a great summer and comes back ready for next season, just smashing goals in. Fingers crossed.
No, 100%. Some of his best finishes were actually offside goals as well. I get blown away. I'm like, wow, that's a fantastic finish, and it's offside. It's crazy. Alex, let's talk about Mason Mount, Chelsea's Player of the Year. I mean,
perfect man to ask, by the way.
Yeah, no, that's why I waited. I said I structure my shows.
I appreciate it.
I structure my shows. It's not coincidence that the question came to Alex. Do you know what I mean? Alex,
I don't get to talk about the fact that there's no excuse for Timo Werner to not be better staying on side because he's literally the fastest player in the team. I don't get to talk about that. Okay.
I know if I talk about Timo Werner with you, it's going to eat up the rest of the show, and I know you're just going to be all over it. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to keep this.
No. In all seriousness, Younes said it well. You love him. You get frustrated with him. Let's move on.
Absolutely. Let's get to the juicy parts about Mason Mount, right? Look, I knew from the beginning of the season that this player was going to be a very, very big player, good player. He'll develop into a better player than last season. Last season, he was phenomenal. But I never expected this level of growth, right? When you look at earlier this season, the likes of players that came in with Timo Werner, Kai Havertz, Ziyech, a lot of fans were saying that perhaps he might not see that many minutes as he saw last season. Perhaps he may not get, the touch, I suppose, from the managers. Frank Lampard obviously played him as well. Now Thomas Tuchel plays him because he's just that good. But he seems like he's just risen above all of them and really just announced himself that I don't care what level of players you bring in to Chelsea Football Club, and I know you're going to bring in world-class or very, very good players, but I'm going to keep raising my game and keep it going further and further. I mean, are you at some level, though, a bit surprised at how quickly he's become Chelsea's player of the season? You look at the caliber of players that become Chelsea's player of the season in the sense of Eden Hazard, Juan Mata, Willian. That one season, let's be honest, he was actually very good. That poor season that we had. Now Eden Hazard's name goes in there. Eden Hazard. Mason Mount's name goes in there. I mean, talk to me, man. How are you feeling? Is this something that you sort of thought that now this was coming?
Well, yeah, first of all, I think the player of the season group he's joining in terms of who's won it before is amazing. I like to reference the stat of the 3 players to win player of the season, 24 or younger: Terry, Eden Hazard, Mason Mount. That's it.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
That's
impressive. Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not trying to say that I saw every single moment coming, but I can't sit here and say to you that I'm really surprised by anything Mason's doing. I'm really, really not. And perhaps some think I'm lying, but I think people who have followed me for a long time know, I'm not really that surprised. And here's why. And I really am probably getting boring to listen to speak about Mount, because I've been saying the same thing for a couple of years now about why I rate him so highly. Yeah. He has so much ability. Like, I understand and I acknowledge his technical ability, his just overall football quality. That's been obvious. I mean, I think people haven't realized that throughout all the stages in his career, like even when he was a kid, he was always one of the top players. Like, it wasn't like he was an underdog. I think people maybe don't know that. Like, whoever your favorite youngster is, if there's some YouTube guy that's so fun to watch because they do tricks and flicks, Mount was probably rated higher or at least the same as all those guys along the way. He was captaining young England teams, young Chelsea teams that had stacked teams. So, like, I've always known his quality, but it's the mentality, man. Like, I'm a sportsaholic. I've probably ruined relationships over sports. I'm 31 now. I've been watching sports like really since I can remember, since I was like 5 or 6. And of course, I've gotten some players wrong because I probably didn't know their mentality, right? I probably saw them for a second. I was like, wow, that was dope what they just did. You know, it was the NBA. Maybe they did a 360 dunk, but I have no idea what type of personality they are, and they'd rather go out, you know, at night and not treat their body right. Like, I've definitely rated some players and then figured out, oops, they have the talent, but not the mentality. Yeah. And these last few years, I've just learned above all to prioritize looking at a player's mentality, their work ethic, their makeup before really anything. Because, by the way, like, if they're on our radar, they're obviously talented. If they are on our radar, if there's someone we're speaking of, they obviously have talent. Okay, so what's between the ears? And when it comes to not getting swept away with the hype, not getting swept away with the praise, Mason Mount is the epitome of that. So he can have, at this point, he has had every legend pretty much speak about him in glowing terms. Like Terry just casually saying, England Chelsea captain for me. You know, legends from rival clubs, of course, saying. Did you hear what Brendan Rodgers said? Did you hear what Brendan Rodgers said? Out of his way, Miz. Going out of his way. The question wasn't even about Mount, and just wanted to applaud Mount. So I've seen enough examples of that over the years, and I just see the next day, he just moves all that stuff to the side. Like, it doesn't affect him. So some youngsters, I think people are right. Like, careful if you hype him too much. Mount, it's never, ever, ever been a worry of mine, especially when maybe I've learned his personality on a deeper level. It's just an incredible personality. So that personality I feel, that personality you feel as a fan, the managers and the players feel it. And it's why he's absolutely undroppable. And he wants, like, the last thing I'll say is you were mentioning, oh, these players come in and people are starting to wonder if he'll be in the 11 as consistently. I mean, even he was really our player of the season under Lampard, and then Tuchel comes in and you still have doubters saying, oh man, now he's not going to be a starter. I don't think what people understand, maybe some don't understand, is Mount wants challenges. Like, he wants you to challenge him. He wants you to bring in players to, seemingly maybe be there to take his place. He wants you to up the level, because if you don't up the level, he's already upping it for himself. Like, he's going to be harder on himself than anyone can ever be on him. So if you tell him to work hard, he's already told himself to work harder. That's why really nothing he does surprises me.
Yeah, man. Honestly, the talent, we can all see it, is aggression, all different facets of football itself. But more importantly, the leadership that you see as well. Obviously we all saw the fight that happened, off the back of Rudiger. And then as soon as Mount and Silva saw Amati, it was like they saw something else and they just went to a different zone. So, that's the kind of attitude that you want to see, a particular player have. And you can just tell at the age of 22, if you're like that, give it another few more seasons when he really matures into a adult, do you know what I mean? Like a grown adult. I reckon he'll start commanding the field. You'll see opposition players say, oh no, here comes Mason Mount into the field. Like, he'll command that type of an aura. The likes when, Frank Lampard and I'd even say like Ballack and all of those players, Essien, when they stepped into the ground, you could see the opposition go, ooh, we're in for a very, very tough ride today. So yeah, Mason Mount definitely, has that trajectory at the moment going on. Boys, let's talk about the final thing that I want to get your opinion on. I'll go with you, Younes. Obviously, 2 more games coming up, Aston Villa and the very, very big one. Actually, both are pretty big. We're not confirmed yet for top 4. Anything can happen in the last day with Liverpool and Leicester and Chelsea. These are the 3 clubs. Everything else is pretty much taken care of. And obviously the Man City Champions League final, which is the big one coming up as well. After seeing the performance that we saw against Leicester, Younes, and the kind of a lineup that we saw, the serious lineup, I'd say, us taking matters seriously. One, I want to ask you, is that the lineup that you want to see over the next 2 games, bar, I suppose, maybe the one rotation of Kante? He did pull out of this match. Maybe Kovacic comes in and then Kante then comes in for the final in Champions League. You don't want to see any more of wholesale of changes, right? Even though I feel like Pulisic didn't have his best game against Leicester, the last one yesterday, I feel like I still want to keep him going with the front 3, the back 5, Mendy, midfield, as I said, Kovacic. Is that what you want to see as well over the next couple of games, or will you tinker a little bit against Aston Villa?
No, so basically, we'll see what happens tonight, because on the off chance, if Liverpool lose, we get top 4. It's done.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. If that's the case, then fantastic. But regardless, even if we get top 4 tonight, or if we don't and we have to beat Aston Villa, I keep the same team. I don't change a thing. Obviously, Kante might not be available. Havertz might not be available. We'll see what happens. Even though there's a chance they actually could be. I know Kante came off as a precaution. Havertz, apparently it's not serious. He might be ready for the weekend. We don't know, but we'll see. But I think what might be there at the forefront is not to risk them and make sure they're available for the Champions League final. So, no, I think the gaps now are more than justifiable to keep the same team. We've got now up until the weekend, fantastic. Keep the same team.
And then we've got a week.
We've got a week.
Yeah.
We got a week. Yeah. Portugal's not far. So it's not a case of fatigue or anything like that, or jet lag. That won't happen. It's all good. Same for City. City have just lost. But hopefully that will mess up a little bit with their heads. Probably not too much, but a little bit. Fingers crossed. I think we keep the same team. Now it's about keeping consistency. Now it's about trying to build that last bit of chemistry that we can get in before the final. And I think if we just take this team that are now, I'm sure, buzzing with a bit of confidence after last night, morale's probably high, especially with the Amate situation, the fight, it got passionate, it got really riled up. If they just carry that forward now into the Villa game, get the job done, if it's not done tonight, and then keep the same team for the final. I think that is what we have to do.
No, 100%. By the way, just quickly, I just realized when you said the fight, did you see that Rudiger clip? There he goes, we need to punish them.
Yeah. He said it. He was right. He was. I mean, I love it. And that, again, that shows the mentality. That shows the mentality, man. He's like, we had to punish him. Simple as that. Especially after what he done.
And he said that, Amate, the club is a bit too bigger for you. Like, the club is it's just amazing what he said. Alex, same sort of notion for you as well. No more tinkering. Let this team fly. Let this team get the chemistry. Regardless, as Younes said, regardless of what Liverpool does, I still want to go out there with this proper team and put away Aston Villa, get that victory just before we go into the Man City game. I don't want, if Liverpool gets a loss or whatever the case is against Burnley, I don't want us to then go, oh, you know what? A whole 11 against Aston Villa because we're through now. And then, for some reason, Aston Villa puts 5 against us or 3 against us and we lose on the last sort of Premier League game. I want this momentum to carry on. Is that how you're feeling as well?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'd love for Burnley to beat Liverpool, but still, I'm going into that last game no matter what. I want third, I know top four is top four, but I want third. I'm going to that last game majorly because there is, like you guys said, that week off before the Champions League final, so enough time for rest and recovery. I want that last game to have the 11 more or less that Tuchel would at least ideally want for the Champions League final. Maybe the exception is N'Golo Kante, who I think we would put on ice for Villa because that hamstring thing, that's hard to just shake right in a few days' time. So knowing how important he is in big games and seeing that there's no bigger game than the 29th, Conte's probably the one exception to the rule. But other than that, yeah, I approach Villa with no tinkering, really a team more or less that Tuchel can envision playing in the Champions League final. Like, there could be minor tweaks, like maybe against Villa, he wants Reece still at right center back and Aspie at right wing back, but maybe against City, he wants to flip that, right? So Reece can maybe give Benjamin Mendy a hard time again. Like, that's fine, but more or less same identity. The front three, I want to be the same because here's like how I approach it. The Villa game scares me a bit. I won't be lying here because Villa will have fans, right? So even though they're not playing for anything really, they're still going to want to perform for their fans, and they're not a bad team. And still, I've learned a lot. I think you guys have as well. Like, teams with nothing to play for still can really ruin your day. Yeah, they really can. Yeah. So don't at all. Yeah, don't think that it's in the bag at all. Approach that game as a tune-up as well. And the front three, I would go Timo and Mount, of course, because they're always going to be relentless no matter what. And then I go Pulisic, who I will admit was probably one of the weakest links in this previous game against Leicester. But actually, that may work to our advantage for Pulisic going against Villa, because I'm thinking Timo, Mount, always relentless, whether they just had a good game or a bad game. Pulisic might be extra relentless because he might also feel not only is it important for the team, but maybe it's important for himself as well, right? End the season on a good note, but maybe Pulisic, because we know the uncertainty with the front three and how the front three will change, maybe Pulisic views it as a bit of a dress rehearsal to start the Champions League final. So I view that as almost a beautiful situation where Timo and Mount are going to bring it. And I'm not saying Pulisic doesn't bring it, but I think Pulisic would be even more geared up for Villa. Also, like, Grealish probably is, he is back, so probably start against Chelsea. There's always talk about Grealish being one of the best creative players in the league, wingers, and he is, obviously. So will Pulisic also be like, hey, I'm here too. So I would go with just about the same 11, except once again, Conte is going to be the exception to the rule. And I'm going to assume Kai is also the same thing, right? This hamstring stuff is so annoying because it can be a small thing. Like, clearly it is with Kai, and like it is with N'Golo just because he's even able to play at all. Like, sometimes if your hamstring is even at all tight, you can't play at all. So clearly N'Golo's managing it. And the way Tuchel spoke on Kai, it sounds like it was more precautionary. But I don't think they can play on Sunday. And if you have any hope for them playing in the final, I think they're the guys that obviously is sit. So yeah, no more tinkering, even if Burnley beat Liverpool. Let's go, Sean Dyche.
I love it. I'm pumped, man. Listening to you boys, I feel like, I can't wait for the City game. Literally just before this Leicester game, I was like, oh God, I don't want to play City. But like, straight after this Leicester game and getting that vibe back again, us come back into that winning mentality. and being serious again. I'm just, I can't wait till we put away Aston Villa, hopefully. And then Man City, we've already had their number. I'm pretty sure we can do the three-peat. They've already won a title, man. Just give us one. Seriously, you've won 2 this season. Like, we deserve to get 1 for this season. So,
it's their first Champions League final. We had to
lose.
We had to lose our first one, so it's only right they lose their first 2.
Exactly. They have to lose it. They got to learn the hard way.
And also, by the way, happy 19th of May to you guys and to everyone watching.
Yes, 19th.
Years.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, over 160 people live. First of all, smash the like button if you've enjoyed this. If you're here for the first time, subscribe, hit the bell notification as well to keep in touch with all my content. But most importantly, the lads, I'm pretty sure you guys are all following them. But by just the slimmest chance you're not, their socials are in the description. Younes Talks Football. He's, you just hit 70,000. I remember seeing your video yesterday. And Alex and his podcast. Alex, it's still £2, right? £2 a month, I believe. Because I'm pretty sure. I'm looking at my statements. It's still £2. It hasn't changed. So guys, go out there and follow them. Alex's podcast. I mean, there's not much to say. The fact that the caliber of guests that he brings in, his post-match analysis is just next level. Lots of raw passion in there as well. But before I let both of you boys go, I'll go to you, Alex. What are some of the things that's coming up? I mean, I know you said that your post-match pod's coming out today sometime. But how you sort of leading up to the Champions League?
Yeah, the post-pod from last night will be out very soon. We're obviously going to turn up for the fact that we're in the Champions League final. So without giving too much away, we'll definitely be having on new voices we've already had, but with more of a Champions League final spin. I mean, Listen, I don't want to give everything away, but we've only been in one Champions League final that we won. So that's a very special team, and we'll try and reminisce a bit about 2012 and not 2008. We will just hone in on 2012. But I mean,
don't tell me you're getting a player. Are you getting a player, Alex, from 2012?
Who knows, Miz? Who knows? Only my dog and my phone know that at the moment.
I need to chat to your dog, man.
She's sleeping and snoring, if that's come across at all as well. But I mean, listen, when you have the Champions League final coming up, as a content creator, I probably can speak for everyone. You ramp up your content even more. You may be a content creator. I know Younes and I talked about this when I had him on my podcast last week. We talked about consistency is key if you want to be successful at all with content creation. And consistency means when there's nothing going on, when it's a bad moment with the team, consistency is key. But when you have a Champions League final coming up, consistency times like 1,000. So we'll be active.
100, man. Flyers, I just saw this. First of all, thank you so much for joining, and happy birthday to your father, Flyers.
Happy birthday.
19th of May. Special day. Younes, I know you're going to crank it up. Everyone's going to be watching the watch-along for the last game. I've got to say, Alex, I don't know if have you seen Younes's watch-alongs, by the way, Alex?
Not live, but I have seen them, And can I just say to him and anyone who does watch-alongs, I have so much respect for you. I really, really do. Because I don't think the public really should ever see me during a game. So big ups to Younes and anyone who does watch-alongs, honestly.
You know what, Alex? I'm hooked. I'm hooked, right? So this is how my setup is on game day. I have on one screen Younes, right? And I've got my headset. I'm not even listening to the commentator. I'm listening to what Younes has to say. Because
what a compliment, Younes. What a compliment.
I'll watch that, and I have him on, and then on the other side I have the game on, and I have the volume on a little bit so that I can hear a little bit of the commentary as to what's going on. And honestly, to all the people that are doing watch-alongs, I've tried it a few times this season, and I've sort of said to myself, I don't want to do it until I ever get as close to Younes's level, or else it's a joke. It's really a joke. To all the people that are doing watch-alongs, please have a look at what Younes is doing. For me, he is literally like production level. Like you can just have ESPN should just watch this guy. Seriously, just have a look. But Younes, my man, is your father going to feature for the last day? I hope he does, man. He cracks me up from the background.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, a lot of people have heard. I mean, sometimes he's slightly ahead of me. Sometimes he's just behind. So some people anticipate if something big happens, they just know there's going to be a reaction. It's just, yeah. I mean, for the final, as Alex said, I mean, firstly, thank you so much for all your comments. Honestly, I appreciate that. But for the final, as Alex said, yeah, we got up the levels a bit. I have an idea in place, which I'm trying to figure out to see if it's possible. And if it is, then great. But if not, plan B is to at least just have me and my dad on the stream. So, yeah, Madness. For the final, we're definitely upping it a bit. And it's going to be crazy because, I mean, there hasn't been any casualties because of Chelsea in this household, but things have been broken in the past. So, I mean, RIP coffee table of 2005. that got smashed into pieces because of him. So it's honestly not. Look, it's going to be good. It's a big occasion, Champions League final, but the lead up to that is going to be intense. We'll see how we finish the season in terms of the Premier League, but yeah, the build up to the final is going to be just nerves, and more nerves. I'm looking forward to it.
Brilliant. Can I just ask for one request though? Just if you do it in the Champions League final or you do it in the Aston Villa game, I don't care, whichever the game is. Just one watch along, have the background as it is. Just your bedroom, the cupboard, and have all the other jazz that you got going on. You know, the scoreline, the ticker, the subscribe. Is that possible at all, or you got to have the whole lot? Like that background is iconic, Younes. You need to realize how iconic your background is.
I mean, this is the thing. There's nostalgia and there's evolution, and like you know, sometimes you gotta separate the two at times. But I'll see.
Jose Mourinho. There's nostalgia and then there's evolution.
That was a great
eggs, omelette, class A. Yeah, no, thank you.
Brilliant. I'll just end it with Brent Smith. Thank you so much. You're always supporting my man. Thank you so much. Honestly. Thanks for that jersey discount link, Miz. Got that Thiago number 6 home kit, and I couldn't be more proud. Thank you so much, Miz. Honestly, that's brilliant. That's a good story.
Yo, I got real scared for a second because isn't Thiago number 6 for Liverpool as well? Is that? I know who he's speaking of.
Chelsea.
Yeah. Okay.
My discounts for Chelsea only, unless that particular code works for every club. I'm not really sure now. I'm pretty sure it's just for Chelsea. But ladies and gentlemen, that ends it here. Hope you all enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it. I'm hoping the boys have enjoyed it as well. Until next time, everyone, take care and see ya.